Hello, my little love. Did you have a good day today? I hope something made you smile. Now take a slow breath, relax your shoulders, and let your mind get soft and quiet. It's time for a gentle bedtime story. In the deep part of the ocean, where the water turns from sky blue to the softest shade of evening purple, there lived a gentle spirit named Amphitrite. She had hair the color of sea foam, flowing and curling like the softest waves, and her eyes sparkled like sunlight dancing on water. She wore a dress made of the most delicate seaweed that shimmered with tiny pearls, and wherever she swam, she left a trail of silver bubbles that floated up slowly, glowing like little stars. Amphitrite was a nereid, which means she was one of the kind ocean daughters who took care of the sea and all the creatures who lived there. There were many nereids, 50 sisters in all, and they each had their own special gifts. Some could sing to the whales, some could paint the coral reefs with beautiful colors, and some could guide lost sailors safely home. But Amphitrite had the most special gift of all. She could make things grow. Everywhere Amphitrite swam, beautiful gardens would appear. Sea flowers would bloom in colors you've never seen on land, purples that glowed like twilight, blues deeper than the midnight sky, and pinks as soft as the inside of a shell. Long strands of kelp would grow tall and strong, swaying gently in the current like tall grass in a summer breeze. Anemones would open their soft petals, creating cozy homes for tiny clownfish who would peek out and wave their little fins at anyone who passed by. Amphitrite spent her days tending to these underwater gardens with gentle care. She would hum soft melodies as she worked, and the sound of her voice would help the plants grow even more beautifully. The sea cucumbers would slide slowly across the sandy paths she created, cleaning everything as they went. The sea urchins, round and careful, would rest beneath the leafy fronds, safe and content. And the seahorses, those sweet little creatures that look like tiny underwater horses, would wrap their curly tails around the stems and rest, bobbing gently in the peaceful current. One calm morning, when the water was as clear as glass and shafts of golden sunlight reached all the way down to the ocean floor, Amphitrite was tending to a patch of new coral. She was carefully arranging tiny polyps, helping them find the perfect spot to grow, when she heard a deep, warm voice behind her. "That is the most beautiful garden I have ever seen." Amphitrite turned around and saw someone she had only heard about in the whispered stories the fish told. It was Poseidon, the great friend and protector of all the oceans. He was much taller than she expected, with kind eyes, the color of the deepest sea, and silver hair that moved around him like gentle waves even though the water was still. He held his smooth driftwood staff, and he was smiling at her with such warmth that she felt like she was standing in a sunbeam. Amphitrite felt suddenly shy. She tucked a strand of seafoam hair behind her ear and said quietly, "Thank you. I just like to help things grow." Poseidon swam closer, moving slowly and carefully so as not to disturb any of the delicate plants. "It's more than that," he said softly. "You've created something truly magical here. I've traveled across every ocean, from the coldest polar waters to the warmest tropical seas, and I've never seen gardens as peaceful and beautiful as these." Amphitrite blushed, and her cheeks turned the soft pink of coral at sunrise. She showed Poseidon around her gardens, pointing out her favorite spots. There was an archway made of living coral where butterfly fish would swim through in graceful loops. There was a quiet grove of tall kelp where the sea otters would come to rest, floating on their backs with their paws folded on their bellies. There was a meadow of seagrass where tiny seahorse babies would play hide and seek, their little bodies swaying with the gentle current. As they swam together through the gardens, Poseidon told Amphitrite about his dream. "I want to create the most wonderful palace beneath the waves," he said, his voice full of hope and excitement. "A place where every creature of the ocean can come and feel safe and welcome. A place with great halls where the whales can sing their deep songs, and tiny nooks where the smallest fish can rest. But I need help. I need someone who understands beauty and growth and care." He turned to Amphitrite, and his eyes were so gentle and hopeful. "Would you help me create this palace? Would you bring your gift of growing beautiful things and help me make a home for the whole ocean?" Amphitrite felt something flutter in her heart, like a school of tiny silver fish all swimming in the same direction at once. But she was also uncertain. She loved her quiet gardens, her peaceful work with the plants and the small creatures. The idea of creating something so grand felt a little bit overwhelming. Like being asked to paint the whole sky when you're used to painting just one beautiful flower. "I don't know," she said honestly, her voice as soft as a whisper carried on a current. "I've only ever made small gardens. A whole palace sounds so big and important." Poseidon smiled, and it was the kindest smile she'd ever seen. "Every big thing starts as something small," he said gently. "Every great palace begins with a single stone. Every magnificent garden begins with a single seed. You don't have to do it all at once. We can grow it together, slowly and carefully, just like you grow your gardens." But Amphitrite still felt unsure. She needed time to think, time to understand what her heart was telling her. So she did something that felt right to her. She swam away to a quiet place. A secret cave she knew deep beneath the waves where the water was calm and still, and where she could hear her own thoughts clearly. The cave was beautiful in its own way, with smooth walls that glowed with a gentle blue light from the bioluminescent creatures that lived there. Amphitrite sat on a soft cushion of sand and let herself think. She thought about her gardens and how much joy they brought her. She thought about Poseidon's kind eyes and his dream of a palace for everyone. She thought about how sometimes, when we care deeply about something, we have to be brave enough to let it grow into something even bigger and more beautiful. While she sat there thinking, something magical happened. A dolphin swam into her cave, clicking softly in greeting. Then came a sea turtle, old and wise, who settled beside her with a patient sigh. An octopus arrived, changing colors from curious blue to friendly purple. More creatures came, one by one, until the cave was filled with ocean friends of all kinds. They didn't speak in words, but Amphitrite could understand them anyway. The way you can sometimes understand what someone means just by looking in their eyes. They were telling her that her gardens had made their lives more beautiful. They were telling her that the care she put into growing things had given them homes and happiness. They were telling her that a gift like hers was meant to be shared with as many creatures as possible. A tiny seahorse, barely bigger than Amphitrite's thumb, swam right up to her face. It looked at her with its sweet little eyes and seemed to say, "We believe in you." Amphitrite felt her uncertainty begin to melt away, like ice turning to water in the warm sun. She realized that creating something big and wonderful wasn't about being different from who she was. It was about being exactly who she was, just in a bigger space. She could still tend to plants with gentle care. She could still hum her soft songs. She could still take her time and do things slowly and beautifully. She would just be doing it in a palace instead of in small hidden gardens. She thanked all the creatures who had come to visit her, giving each one a gentle pat or a soft stroke. Then she swam out of her cave and went to find Poseidon. He was waiting by her favorite coral archway, sitting quietly on a smooth rock, looking patient and hopeful. When he saw her coming, his whole face lit up like the sun breaking through clouds. "I'll help you," Amphitrite said, and her voice was clear and sure. "I'll help you create your palace. But we'll do it the right way, slowly, carefully, with love for every small detail." Poseidon's smile was so bright it seemed to make the water around them sparkle. "That's exactly how I hoped we would do it," he said warmly. And so they began. They chose a place on the ocean floor where the sand was soft and white, and where the water was always calm and clear. Poseidon would use his strength to move great stones into place, shaping walls and arches, and Amphitrite would follow behind him, filling every space with growing, living beauty. Where Poseidon created a wall, Amphitrite would cover it with soft moss that glowed gently in the dark, providing light without being too bright. Where he made a doorway, she would grow a curtain of graceful kelp that swayed in the current like silk blowing in a breeze. Where he formed a pool, she would fill it with water lilies that bloomed in colors that changed with the time of day: pink in the morning, gold at noon, and soft purple in the evening. They worked together in perfect harmony, like two dancers who know each other's steps. Poseidon would shape and build, and Amphitrite would soften and beautify. Where he created strength, she added gentleness. Where he made something grand, she made it feel like home. The creatures of the ocean came to watch and help. The dolphins brought smooth pebbles they had found in their travels, each one a different beautiful color. The sea turtles used their strong flippers to help move sand, creating pathways and courtyards. The octopuses, clever as they were, figured out how to weave strands of seaweed into decorative patterns that hung from the ceilings like natural chandeliers. Even the tiny shrimp helped, cleaning and polishing every surface until it gleamed. As the palace grew, something else grew too. The friendship between Poseidon and Amphitrite deepened into something even more special. They would work side by side during the day, and in the evenings, they would swim through the gardens together, talking about their dreams and their favorite things. Poseidon told her about all the oceans he had seen, about ice caves in the north, where narwhals swam, and warm lagoons in the south where the water glowed at night. Amphitrite told him about each type of plant and flower, sharing the secrets of how to help them grow, and what songs they liked to hear. One evening, when the palace was nearly finished and the first stars were beginning to appear in the sky far above the water, Poseidon took Amphitrite to the highest tower they had built. From there, they could see the entire palace spread out below them, glowing softly with the light of thousands of bioluminescent plants Amphitrite had grown. It looked like a constellation had fallen from the sky and settled on the ocean floor. "This is more beautiful than anything I ever imagined," Poseidon said softly, his voice full of wonder. "And it's because of you. Your gift, your care, your patient hands." Amphitrite looked at the palace and felt a warm glow in her heart. It was true that it was more beautiful than she had ever dreamed possible. But she knew it wasn't just because of her. "We made it together," she said, taking his hand. "Your strength and my gentleness. Your grand dreams and my careful attention to small details. Together, we made something neither of us could have made alone." Poseidon squeezed her hand gently and smiled. "Would you stay here with me?" he asked. "Would you make this palace your home, and help me keep it beautiful and welcoming for all the creatures of the sea?" Amphitrite looked into his kind eyes and knew her answer. "Yes," she said simply. "I would love that." And so Amphitrite became the queen of the ocean palace, though she never acted like she was more important than anyone else. She continued to tend the gardens with the same gentle care she had always used. She welcomed every creature who came to visit, from the biggest blue whale to the smallest krill. She made sure there were quiet corners where shy creatures could rest, and open spaces where playful ones could swim and leap. The palace became known throughout all the oceans as a place of peace and beauty. The gardens Amphitrite created there were beyond description. There were forests of kelp so tall they reached up toward the sunlight, creating golden-green cathedrals where the light filtered through in soft, shifting patterns. There were meadows of sea anemones in every color, waving their soft tentacles like a field of flowers in a gentle breeze. There were caves lined with crystals and shells, where the water was always perfectly still. And you could hear your own heartbeat as a gentle, reassuring rhythm. Baby sea creatures would come to learn about the ocean in Amphitrite's gardens. She would teach them which plants were safe to eat and which ones were homes for other animals. She showed them how to move gently through the kelp forests without tangling the strands. She helped them understand that every living thing in the ocean was connected, and that taking care of each other was the most important thing of all. Poseidon would often join her in the gardens, and they would work side by side just as they had when they were building the palace. Sometimes they would simply float together in peaceful silence, watching the fish swim by and the sea stars crawl slowly across the rocks. Other times they would tend to the plants together, Amphitrite humming her soft-growing songs while Poseidon used his staff to gently direct the currents, bringing fresh, clean water to all the growing things. On special nights, when the moon was full and its light reached all the way down to the ocean floor, Amphitrite would create something extra magical. She would call forth bioluminescent plankton, tiny creatures so small you could barely see them, but when they gathered in their millions, they would make the water glow with a soft, blue-green light. The palace would shimmer and sparkle as if it were made of starlight, and creatures would come from all over the ocean to see the beautiful display. During these magical nights, Amphitrite and Poseidon would swim together through the glowing gardens, and everything would feel perfect and peaceful. The water would be warm and calm, the light would be soft and gentle, and all the creatures of the sea would gather together in harmony, feeling safe and happy in the beautiful palace that had been built with strength and gentleness, with grand dreams and careful attention to small, precious details. And in her heart, Amphitrite knew she had made the right choice. By being brave enough to share her gift with the whole ocean instead of keeping it in small, hidden gardens. She had created something that brought joy to countless creatures. She had learned that the things we create with love and care can grow bigger than we ever imagined, spreading peace and beauty far and wide, like ripples moving across the surface of a still pond. The palace and its gardens remained forever, a place where any creature could come to feel the gentle care of Amphitrite, to rest in the peaceful beauty she had grown, and to remember that the ocean was a home for everyone, filled with wonder and magic and the deep, abiding kindness of those who watch over it with loving hearts. You did well today, my little love. Now let your eyes grow heavy, and let the night wrap around you like a soft blanket. Sleep well, sweet dreams, and rest deeply.